recording. We are live with Melinda Nakagawa. I am so grateful to have Melinda here as our guest this afternoon. This is now day 3 of the Your Business is Calling Summit. This is all about helping soul-led entrepreneurs build and grow a business that they love. And I am grateful to all the amazing entrepreneurial women that I've had on this summit so far, and Melinda today, to show up and really share your story about how you got to where you are, how you were able to build this business. And I find, for so many of us, there's so much, and actually we were just talking about it, Melinda, like the power of stories, right? The power of hearing other people who've gone before you and what their journey was like, and what are some of the things that they now looking back can sort of, from that wisdom, from that place of, hindsight, kind of have that wisdom to share for other people that might be just getting started or a little bit, on a different path and are looking for some inspiration and some guidance. So that's the whole reason why we're running this summit. And so I'd love, Melinda, for you to take a minute to introduce yourself, maybe share a little bit about what you do today, how, like what your business looks like today, and then we'll go back into sort of how you got here.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Celia. My name is Melinda Nakagwa, and I'm the founder of Spark in Nature, and I want to welcome everyone who's here. It has been an interesting road for me to come to where I'm at today. And so first, I'm going to share what I do today. And today, I reconnect people with nature through the process called nature journaling, and that is about going out into nature, observing, being present, and recording our experience, that 3-dimensional experience of feeling and seeing and knowing nature, and putting it into a journal, which is just, a book, could be any book. And we draw pictures and write words and record our impressions of nature. And it helps to develop this relationship with nature that, as we know, those of us who like nature, that nature helps us understand that we're not alone, that we're connected to something much greater, the nature that's around us. And it brings a sense of peace and calm so that we can continue to do the work that we're doing without getting overwhelmed so much. And part of being overwhelmed is part of the human process, I think. And so what I've noticed is in my own practice and with helping my clients is that, when we're feeling a little overwhelmed with too many Zoom meetings and too many commitments and too much digital media, what's on your plate, is taking these quick or even long breaks to reconnect with nature. So nature journaling is one way to do that. But I have a lot of different tools that I use with my clients.
I love that. And for me, it's absolutely, we've talked about it. Like I have a practice where I go out for a walk every day, sort of rain or shine, just because it does help me to kind of ground, get recentered and re-energized for my work as an entrepreneur. So I love that we're talking about that today because it's such an important practice in my own life. So it's a really, we got to say, right, this is like, I had never heard of nature journaling. I think this is such a cool practice and tool that, people that can benefit so many of us that have never, had the experience of it. And I really would love for you to maybe share, how did you come to nature journaling as an offer, and sort of, where were you before, and kind of how did you end up in this space? Because so much of what we've been talking about with the other entrepreneurs that have been on this summit is like following those little breadcrumbs, right? Like it's never really a straight path. There's a lot of little breadcrumbs that we kind of follow. So I'd love to hear your story of the breadcrumbs.
Yeah. Okay. So distilling the story, I would say that in reflection, preparing for this interview, I was thinking about entrepreneurship. And I just remember being a kid and making art cards and selling them at my aunt's flower shop. And so, that entrepreneurial spirit was with me since I was a kid. And I'll say, I've sold my crafts and artwork. I've, taught classes. I've, been a musician, I've done all these different kinds of things, and I did them for a little while and then I stopped and I felt like I was a failure, right? That sinks in a lot. And in hindsight, years later, I can say, oh yes, all of those things that I got the inkling to try and to receive money for the work that I do was just another tool or experience that I was amassing to prepare me for what I am today. And so the breadcrumbs were, maybe not clear at first, but in hindsight, I'm looking back, I had a very strong desire when I owned a flower shop for about 10 years. My aunt and uncle's flower shop I took over. During that time, I had this strong, like in my chest and in my heart, in my whole body, I needed to go back to school to study marine biology. Like it was as if this mantra was playing in my head. And I did whatever I could after work to take classes, and eventually I got a master's degree, and I thought, okay, now I'm a marine biologist. What do I do? And the people around me were like, you can't make money being a marine biologist. You can't make money being a marine biologist. And I think what it was is like, there's some knowing inside me that knew that I just needed to follow that love and that passion. I didn't know how I was going to get a job, because I think our culture wants us to fit into these boxes of like, okay, what's the job that's going to make money to make me happy, right? That kind of train. And I kept feeling like there's this love that I know that I need to pursue. And I would push through anything to get there. And I did. And when I got there, I think I got worn out by the message that, that story that you keep hearing from everybody. And the part of me got worn out, and I decided maybe that's what I need to do, is just get a job. And so over my adult life period, I've had periods where I was entrepreneuring and doing contract work and then getting a job and then kind of oscillating back and forth, and all the while feeling like I must be a failure because I haven't figured it out. But really today I can look back and say, oh, I needed all of those experiences to have the understanding and amass the skills and the knowledge that I have today. So coming back to that job that I got out of grad school was like the most corporate like job that I've had, and it paid really well, except the work that I was doing was not lighting me up. The work that lit me up was something that I made a little bit of money for that was inconsistent. But gosh, that I knew that was what really I wanted to do. And I couldn't what I was doing the wrong thing. Was I was going out looking for people who were offering that job that I could receive and make a living doing it. The issue was I could work for other people, but I couldn't make a living because of the amount of money or, the availability of the time slots, and felt very disheartened. And that's when the job landed in front of me, the full-time job. And through that process, in that time period a few years ago, that heartfelt feeling came up again, for me. And to me, it was these words that said, connecting nature, science, and art. And I didn't know what that meant. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I've got this great job, great benefits, great pay. It's nearby. My daughter can get braces, all that kind of stuff. And I said, I'd be crazy to leave. And yet that calling came to me again. And through a series of different events that I know are connected, I found myself signing up with a business coach. And she focused on helping women entrepreneurs, leading a heart-led soul service business. I didn't know actually that that's what she did. I just got pulled in, right? Like some friends were going to this thing. And so I went, and it was the right message for me. It was that breadcrumb that was following. So I've worked with several coaches since then, and I haven't really embraced the full-time entrepreneur in the last 3 years because I think there was still more that I needed to work out, more experience. And so I did do some part-time jobs for other people, with other people, gaining more skills and knowledge and understanding of my value. Like, what is it that I do easily, that I love to do, that shines through me? And to focus on that without the fear of how am I going to make money? And I've done a lot of personal inner growth, and being an entrepreneur, even if it wasn't full time, has shown me that is the fast track to spiritual growth, really, or personal growth. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you're faced with a lot of things that you don't need to look at when you work for somebody else. So I've done both, alongside. And so that's what I was really able to see most clearly in working for other people. So what happened to lead me to this business?
I'm gonna pause you. Sorry, I'm gonna pause you for 1
Yes.
second because there's just so
Yeah.
much in there to unpack
Okay.
that I know.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I just feel like you've given us like so much great like insight into that journey that I just want to like take a moment to digest some
Yeah.
of it. So I think one of the things that you were saying like right at the beginning is this idea that you were trying to fit into a box, and that's so many of the women that are on this summit, that are speakers in this summit, that are attending this summit, it's because we've tried that, right? We've tried to put ourselves into that box, and the box doesn't fit. Like we don't, we can't, it's too confining. It is not a place that feels good and feels natural to us. And so this is the thing, right? So many of us are now being called to have to create the types of businesses and create the types of like experiences that we are yearning for, because we can't find it outside of ourselves. Like we can't find it. There is no job description, right? Like I've said that before. There's no job description for nature, journalists. There might be actually that, because I know you've actually found some really interesting opportunities through that, which we'll talk about. But yeah, like, at first glance, you're not thinking, how do I go like Google job search for, person who loves science, art, and heart, and like it just doesn't exist, right? And it's so you sort of have to create it, and that's so I love that you're talking about, this, and so that journey is usually because we are in this creative place, because we are like looking to birth something that has not existed before. There's a lot of like, it can be messy, right? Like birthing is messy. There's a lot of stuff that like it can not always feel good or feel comfortable, and there's a lot of different like what's the word I'm looking for, just this feeling that it's not like you have like you I love what you're saying, which is you kept following like that intention or that direction that was calling to you, but there was a lot of like zigging and zagging, right? There was I have to find a way to sustain myself while I figure this out. So you took some jobs, you did some part-time work, you went full-time, right? And so many of us have shared that, like we've all kind of had a different path to where we are now in building our business. But there is that, because we do live in a world today where money is the main currency. We do need to be able to afford the things we need to afford. And so, sometimes that means that if you are looking to build your business as an entrepreneur, that you have to have a plan in place. Not sometimes, pretty much every time, you need to have a plan in place on some level for how you're going to bridge that transition to where you are today to where you want to go, and how you can create a full-time living being an entrepreneur. I know there's so much more in there. You talked about like, wanting to do things that came easily and felt good to you. And I'm such a believer in follow that, like lead with your heart, lead with what's calling to you, as opposed to trying to figure it all out in your head. Because sometimes that doesn't always like make sense necessarily, but like keep following those breadcrumbs and those signs that are pulling you. And so I love that that's been the common thread throughout your whole story so far. So yes, sorry, keep going now.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, thank you for distilling that. And so all of that, what happened is, that full-time job. So long story short, I no longer had that job, and I had this opportunity, this freedom, to discover what is it that I want to do. And I got opportunities to come back to contract work, as an entrepreneur, but this time I was doing education, working with children, teaching them about nature connection, nature-based things. And it wasn't about nature journaling. The interesting thing is I've kept a nature journal for over 20 years. It's just a personal practice. And it wasn't something that I even thought that, would be important to anybody, but even I did try to put that into what I taught. A couple of years ago, I went to a conference for nature journaling. It was the first time that they've had it. And I saw that there were other people doing it. So the power of connecting with other people was really valuable for me. And to see that there were other groups forming around, the state of California, and there wasn't anything around where I live near Monterey. And I thought, I can do this. And I had a friend and mentor who really encouraged me to do that. So I think it's about having helpful people along the way in your path. And I started a nature journal club in Monterey, which is still going. And pre-COVID, we were meeting in person. And what happened on mid-March of last year is that everything stopped. And I thought, okay, my work, at the point I was doing contract work, it was in person, and all of it got canceled. So I had no income. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do? And at that point, I didn't have the work that I was doing was teaching and that stopped. And so I thought, okay, what do I love to do and what can I give back to the community? Well, I'm going to keep my Nature Journal Club going, and I've used Zoom professionally. So I'm just going to do it on Zoom. And I have a background as an educator, and I also know that I can't teach on Zoom the same way that you teach in a classroom or outdoors. And so I knew that I needed to teach in a different way. And so I experimented with a lot of different ways. I came up with a format and a style that works really well. And I've been teaching almost every Sunday since March of last year. And it's free. I've given this as a gift of love, of generosity from my heart, because when I give, it fed me. And so I knew that I needed that as I give back. Like, this is the other thing I learned from one of my business coaches, is that money is energy, so is love, so all of this stuff. And so I need to give so that I can receive. And so it's this cycle that keeps moving. And so that's just become part of me. So as I'm giving, I knew that something was coming back. And about a month into the free nature journal sessions, I realized that people were really hungry to learn how to do this on their own. And from the first meeting, I think I had 15 people, and it's grown, and I've had, a couple times over 100 people trying to get into my Zoom sessions, and started to teach classes from there. So it was very organic. I followed the breadcrumbs. I did not know how I was going to make money, and it was not an idea to make a business out of this particular thing. It was an organic unfolding, and I just saw what the need was and how I could fill the need in a way that made me feel good, that brought me joy, instead of forcing it, to make a living. It just came naturally out of that. And I'll say that came naturally because of all of the other stuff that I did ahead of this moment. And all the work that I've done on myself and in my business. And now I have several different classes that are going, and I have regular students that come, and I've refined how I teach. I've refined how I want to focus on, listening to what do these students really need? Where do they get stuck in their process? And what I've found is I do a lot of mindset work with these people. So it's not just about how do you draw something in a journal. It's really about how do you stop all the craziness that you're doing and connect with nature, and how do you stop the mind chatter so that you can quiet and come to this nature connection. And you develop your connection to nature in your own way, but I'm creating this space where it's safe and you can try some things out. So my classes are very interactive. We kind of get into it and explore and actually do the practice, because we're always going to do the things we've always done, right? Because we do things out of habit. If we're not in the habit of slowing down to touch nature, then we're not going to do it. I can give you a lecture and handouts, but that's not going to help until you actually really bring it in. So my work is developing. So it's always about, seeing what the need is. How else can I improve what I'm offering? How can I keep learning? And I keep working with coaches, because I know that I need someone ahead of me who's gone through this and who can help me. I have a coach now who's really great, who is, kind of like by my side, isn't someone who's imparting this wisdom down onto.
I need to
Yeah,
I need to find it. I'm trying to find a spot in there where I can be like, okay, hang on 1 second. Cause I know because now you're going into coaching, and I was like, yeah, I love everything you're saying, but I do want to just, again, like take a moment to kind of, cause I don't want to get too far ahead where I'm going to forget things I wanted to share. So I think one thing why I invited you, Melinda, I love you. I think you're an exceptional human, but also I wanted to share your journey as an entrepreneur, because you are such a great example of what it looks like when you allow yourself the freedom to follow your curiosity, to keep sort of taking small steps. This wasn't like a rocket, ship to like stardom where you're now running. This has been like a very organic path of growth that's come from you taking one step and the next step and then the next. And eventually, so like you said, You didn't start off intending to build a business around your, you know, your nature journaling work. You put it out there because it was something that you loved. It was something that you enjoyed doing. It was a practice that you had, that you found helpful for you. And you found a community of people that also shared that, that were looking for that, that were looking for that kind of support. And so you did have other ways in which you were funding that, you know, your ability to run those workshops in the beginning. Now you have paid. So I know, because you said they were free, and I just want to clarify, the Sunday class is free. The others are paid workshops that you run. You also run group events, right? Group programs. And I know, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about you've also gotten really great opportunities now with partnerships, right? With the zoo, I think it was the zoo, or like there's some
the aquarium.
the aquarium. Sorry.
Aquarium
You've had like a lot of different partnerships. So maybe just share a little bit about that, because I think that's really important, is for people to recognize that as you start to show up, as you start to serve from a place of, you know, sharing your genius, sharing your gifts, sharing your natural talents, and being of service and offering value, you start to attract these new opportunities into you. So I'd love for you to maybe share a little bit about like some of those other partnerships that have come up, and maybe how they came about.
Okay. Partnerships have been really key. And I think they came about. So when I was pre-COVID, I was one local organization that I was teaching for. They stopped their classes because they were all in person. And I contacted the director and I say, hey, can I teach this class online? Can I continue it? And they were still trying to figure out how things were going to work. And so we experimented by teaching a class, and now they're doing everything online. And so I think it's about like reaching out to the people that you already know, that you're working with. I also had met someone from the Pacific Grove Natural History Museum a few years ago during a different conference that I wasn't running. I was just an attendee. And I spoke with her. And so I thought, I remember her. I'm going to email her. So I emailed her and I said, I have this idea. Can we work together? I want to teach some nature journaling workshops and give them to the community, to our community, because their museum was closed. They had no income. They had no people coming to their museum, and they were really open to it. So we experimented. We tried something, a 6-session free nature journaling workshops to the community. And it was really popular. We had over 100 people come, and we maxed out on our Zoom account. And so from there, I realized, wait, there's other people that I could reach other than just my own nature journal group. And so I reached out to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, who I had also kind of met a contact, and we created a nature journaling program together, another 6-week program, that these were all offered free to the community. Some of them I gave my time for free and accepted donations, and others they were able to pay me a stipend. And I think that I kept coming it from, what else can I give so that people can see this new idea or this way of looking at nature, and in a safe way that they didn't have to shell out money, in order to make that commitment. And I think that partnering with other groups in the local area was really helpful in expanding my reach, because I have my own mailing list, but that's a smaller one. But if you can partner with an organization that's in your community, that might have potential clients that would be interested in your work, or partnering with another entrepreneur that might have clients that are in the same, like maybe you don't have the same topic, but maybe like overlapping, I can't think of the words right now, but
you're like client, like an overlapping client base, right? Like some sort of overlapping. Yeah.
Right. And so I think it is just having courage to ask, because what do you have to lose, right? When you're creating your business, they could say no. And then what? You move on to the next person, right? But by asking and reaching out to that first person, you're practicing, you're telling your body and your psyche and your spirit that, like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And each time you do it, it becomes easier.
And I'm sure I love that you're sharing this, because this is the theme for today's speakers, because we had the same conversation with Tiffany earlier, which she was talking about. She was at a conference where the person who was speaking, who was like this very well respected authority in that space, she went up to him afterwards, and her background is in branding, and she went up to him and said, "Hey, by the way, I love what you do. I'm really a big fan of your work. However, I think your brand could use some help. Here's some of the things that I would suggest." And she works with him now, and he's been able to refer her to some huge names. So this is it, right? It's just about having the courage to show up, because the worst that could have happened there is he would have said no. But the best thing that happened is that he took her on as a client and has now referred her to these other, like, he's really opened up her business to these incredible clients. So it's really, as an entrepreneur, it's having that courage and that ability to get out of your way and to make the ask. So, and I know that, that's easier said than done. But some of what you've talked about is there's a lot of personal work that goes into becoming an entrepreneur, right? You said it earlier. I say it all the time. The fastest path to personal growth is an entrepreneurial path. Andrew said it yesterday, your business grows you, and it does, right? So, so yeah, I think that,
and can I add?
Yeah.
Oh, can I add something to that, Celia? And I think one thing that I do differently now that I didn't know 3 years ago is to really listen to my heart and to do things not out of fear. Like, I need to have money, so I need to do this so that I can get more clients, so I can make more money. Like, I know that as entrepreneurs, we want to receive the financial resources so that we can continue to do the work that we do, right? Because we believe in our message, and we deserve to be paid for the work that we do so that we can continue to do more. But I am also, focusing on doing things out of love and generosity. So each time I've reached out to partners, it wasn't about, am I going to make money off of this person? It really was, how can I give, like, value? What value can I give? Because there's nothing lost there, right? You're putting that intention out into the universe, and it's only going to come back. And it has. And people have called me this year, just called and said, "Hey, can you come and teach a workshop to our group, to our volunteers? Or can you teach a workshop here?" And I did what your previous interview or speaker did, is I approached someone who was an expert in this field of nature journaling. And when COVID started and he started teaching online classes, I had been teaching a little bit, so I knew you need a co-host if you have 50 people. So I contacted him and I offered to be a moderator for free. I said, I want to support you. And that has been my way of giving back to the community. And it's created a beautiful relationship and a collaborator, a fellow collaborator in this business. And so we get to team up to expand this practice of nature journaling out into the world.
Yeah. And so again, like, I just want to emphasize that importance of putting yourself out there, of making the asks and doing it from a place of integrity, right? Like, absolutely checking in and doing it from a place of love, and doing it from a place of service. That's what it's like to be a soul-led entrepreneur, right? Is to really work from the soul. But I also do want to kind of emphasize that there is an important, there's and there needs to be kind of an even an equal exchange of energy, right? Because I know that as soul-led entrepreneurs, we can also get into that place of over giving, over delivering, and not really valuing ourselves in that process. And I think it's really important for us to recognize that we also, in the work that we're doing, in the offers that we're creating, we are giving value and need to be open to receiving that in return, right? So there needs to be a recognition that this isn't all about us just going out there and giving,
right?
That we need to be open to receiving as well. And so that is part of building a business, right? And that is the business part of being a soul-led entrepreneur, right? So I think that I just want to make sure that that's also something that we're
and I think that receiving can be really hard for a lot of entrepreneurs, because if we're doing it by ourselves, we have our the mind chatter gets really loud. So that's when I would say really, get connected with people who are already growing a business, that are successful, that have gone a few steps ahead of you, that you can have conversations with, or a coach or a mentor, someone who can get you out of that stuckness. or even just, get ideas on like, what are some price points? But also just always checking in with your heart. It's like, what feels good, and what actually, not just what's comfortable, but you want to go to your growth edge, right? You want to go, like, you want to push yourself to be a little uncomfortable, and having someone else on your side to help you is really key. Because I found that whenever I've been working with coaches is when I've had the most explosive growth.
Yeah. And Carla, I think, said yesterday, right? Like, being comfortable isn't always comfortable, right? Like, we tend to sort of live in that place where we are sometimes just allowing like, it's safe. It's more safe than comfortable, right? And so recognizing that, yes, there is that growth edge that we need to. And so each time that you're stepping out and making that ask, or, putting yourself forward for an opportunity, that's you in your growth zone, right? That's you going to your edge. Like when you're offering up your services to that moderator, for that person as a moderator. So okay, I want to make sure that we also have time for questions. So does anybody here have questions for Melinda right now? You can either just raise your hand and I'll call on you, or you can just unmute yourself and ask a question. Lydia?
Yeah. Oh, there I am. I was hiding myself. Sorry. I'm like, why? I keep putting my, my cursor on the camera, but I had my other little thing hiding. Anyway, not a question, Melinda, but I do appreciate a lot of what you're saying, because I did make a comment about, you know what, I do public speaking, and for me, my big ROI is just, the energy exchange. And when I can see one person going, I get you, I feel you, I'm like, that's all I need, right? In terms of, payback. But, I really appreciate what you're saying, because Carla really hit on this point too. Yeah. And you said it again today, is that, really aligning yourself, because I'm still in, early stages only, in that I kind of dropped the ball to go back into corporate for a while. So I'm relaunching, and there's so much value in the network, and just what I've been able to glean, Celia, just from, the few days of being on some of these calls is so beautiful and valuable. And it also just delays a lot of the reservations and hesitations and the chatter in the head, right? When you hear other people's stories and the journey and all the steps they had to take. And I've just picked up some really great nuggets that make me say, okay, you know what? This is why you're feeling what you're feeling. And this is why you're, that chatter is going on in your head, but this is what you should be doing next. And this, but to hear it from other people who've done it, so valuable. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lydia, because I do think that is, and again, why the summit for me was so important is because it's in hearing each other's stories. It's in hearing how we all have like the same sort of limiting, those fears and those imposter syndrome and that idea of like, who am I and why should, and it's pushing past that and having the courage to step out and make an ask, and then seeing like, it's also, of course, most of us are sharing our successes, right? But everybody has said that, there's also been a lot of like no's along the way, and it's okay. Like that's part of the journey, right? Not every ask is going to turn into an opportunity, but unless you're making the ask, then you're not going to get those opportunities, right? And the more you support yourself with a community of people that have kind of had that, are on that same path, the more you can support each other and have that empathy for each other, because it really is, in so many ways, a shared experience, right? Even though we've all got our own manifestations of what that looks like,
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions for Melinda? Yeah, go ahead, Elaine. I think I can.
Yeah, I think I unmuted.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
I just want to say I've been following a lot of Melinda's work, and I hope to join her in some of her Sunday sessions. And I created the Nova Nature Journal Club. So she's a huge inspiration to me as I go down this journey, and try to teach people. My goal is very conservation oriented, and I feel that hers is too. And it's like give back to the community and also get the community engaged and help them fall in love with the native species plants and animals that we have here in Northern Virginia. You know, a lot of people, when they go nature journaling with me, and I'm hoping we can start leading groups back out into into the parks. We've started. I haven't quite started yet. I'm waiting for my second shot, but I'm very inspired by her discussion about teaching online, and that is going to be the next level for me, is because there's a number of people, and I'm sure you've had the same problem, Melinda, that people they follow you, and I reached out to 2 other artist naturalists in the community here, and they joined me to set up the Nova Nature Journal Club, and they teach at their parks. And so I want to follow the path of teaching online as well as in person when we can start doing that again. And much of what I'm working on, it's as much a business as ministry for me. So trying to raise money to help us restore native habitat. Like my heart belongs to Lake Acatink Park, and there's so many invasive plants, but as we restore habitat, the native plants that sustain the wildlife, and especially the birds that we've lost so much of, it really inspires a lot of people, and they just fall in love, and now they're wanting to help restore habitat and stuff. But I kind of digress there. There's so many people, and I know you see this too, that follow us. They love to see our nature journal pages and take the classes, and I need to be more of a mentor, I believe. I want to join you for your Sunday classes.
Yeah, sure. Come anytime.
I know you have invited me, and I am also a caregiver.
So I would ask, I would just ask, what's getting in the way? What is it that's playing in your head that's stopping you? And you know how to contact me, so we can always have a conversation. Some of the Sundays are recorded, and you can find them on my sparkinature.com website. So Elaine, I love what you're doing, and thank you for being here and sharing that, because we as entrepreneurs don't know our ripple, like how it affects other people. And so for you just giving me that concrete feedback of, yes, this has really helped you to create your own group so that you can affect your neighborhood, your community, and other lives. So, and it's going to unfold, a little at a time. So as this is how it's done for me, it's like, as I got comfortable with one thing, I pushed myself to do something different, to do the next scary thing. And each time I did that,
that's going to be Zoom. You're doing it. You're on Zoom already, Elaine. You're halfway there. Now you just got to host your own. But I was going to say, I love your question, Elaine, too, because, and yes, to Melinda's point, you never know, like we're all like just a few steps behind everybody. So, you've got Elaine here sharing how Melinda is an inspiration to her, right? So I love that, because you never know who's looking up to you right now and kind of looking to you to sort of guide them, that 1 or 2 steps ahead, because they're looking at you and saying, I want to do more of what you do. So the more you show up and the more you're visible in that, the more opportunity you have to really help inspire other people who are on a similar path. And to your point, Elaine, you were saying, I have all these offers. I do think that for a lot of entrepreneurs, one of the very first steps is figuring out, what is your offer? What are you inviting people into, right? Like, what is that offer that you're actually inviting people into working with you, right? So you can show up and have these, free journal classes online, but unless you're actually making an offer and inviting them into an opportunity to work with you, then that's kind of where the business part comes in, is having an actual tangible offer that you're going to invite people into, and so something to think about really at this point.
And mentor, because so many people seem to be terrified to post their journal pages. And I know Melinda has experienced that. It's just like, don't be afraid. It's not like trying to paint masterpieces here.
Yes, and
So,
I think that's the big hurdle, right? Nature journaling is pretty new as a
Mhm.
as a thing. John Muir Laws has made it really popular. Claire Walker Leslie brought it to the United States. I was doing nature journaling before I even knew that there was a thing called nature journaling.
Mhm.
So there is a natural desire for people to record what they're experiencing. And my background in science just, kind of, it was natural for me to do that. But I'll tell you that though, when I started after COVID, this was all brand new. There was nothing around, nothing that I could follow, not a format, not a plan. So
Woo.
this really unfolded naturally. And I'll say for my business, I really do a lot of grounding work. Like I found that the answers come to me if I can stay in my heart space, where if I can follow what's the next thing, the inkling, of what it is that I'm meant to do. And also having, like Celia is saying, the business structure of it, right? Like, okay, how can I, align this so that it's something that could bring income? Because I have to receive income. I can't just do it for free, because
Mhm.
then it doesn't feel good, right? Then you feel like you're being used and
Well,
stepped
it's
on.
not a business,
So
right? Like I think it's just that acknowledgement, because there's a lot of things we can do for free that we're not expecting to draw income from. And I just want to highlight that, right? But that's not
yeah,
a business. And so if
right.
we're building a business, then that is the pieces around like
Yes.
understanding how it is that you have offers and you structure offers to invite people into the opportunity to work with you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Does anyone else? I just want to make sure we have any other questions for Melinda. I know, Robin, you joined later. Do you have any questions, or is there something you were? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I came in late. I saw the 2 o'clock and I had it on the wrong time zone. So
I know. I think with the, because we've just changed. I don't know where you're calling in from.
California.
California. Yeah. See, so I think it's everybody who's on the West Coast. Like we just did our time change last week, so I think it's screwed up a few people because
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people join at the end of these. So yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. But no, I know Melinda and I follow her work and I'm very proud of her.
This is a fan
And,
base,
love the
Melinda.
work.
You've got a huge
Yeah.
fan base here. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Anything else? Melinda, why don't you share the gift that you're going to be offering this group that I'm going to send out the link.
Sure. The gift that I've created for you listeners and attenders of the summit is Nature Solutions to Overwhelm. And that is a PDF of, it's a 4-page PDF with some nature related solutions that can help you with when you're feeling that, what that feels like, that overwhelm of like looking at your to-do list and you're like, I don't know what to do, where to start. And I'll tell you that is something that happens to me all the time as an entrepreneur. And what's different today is that when it comes up, I can acknowledge it and say, oh, right, that's just, my mind freaking out and nothing bad is happening right now. And what can I do to kind of get out of that mind chatter and come back to being present? So I hope that those are some tips that you can use that are helpful for you to connect with nature and bring that into your practice. Because sometimes it's just a 2-minute, even 2 or 3 minute break, from the computer to look outside, step outside, to feel nature, to come back to center.
Yeah.
I love that. And where can
Yeah.
people find you?
Oh, so my website is sparkinnature.com, SPARK in
Yeah, I'm just putting it
nature.
in the chat.
Okay. .com.
Sparkinnature.com.
And the free gift is a landing page that I emailed
yeah, I'll send the
to
link.
Celia.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, the link I'll
Yeah,
send
yeah.
with the free
So-
gift. Everybody who's registered for the summit will get that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you
And
have
then I
any?
also-
Yeah.
Yeah, last thoughts. Some of the things I was thinking about that, would encourage people who are new as entrepreneurs or even old at entrepreneurs and doing something new, is enjoy the process. Because I know that I tend to get serious and I'll fret about all the little details. And one thing that I learned from my first business coach is don't worry about the website or the colors or, you know, the font of your letterhead or even the business card, what it looks like, because it's all evolving and it's always changing. So the website, you know, the ideas that I had on my business card 4 years ago is totally different than what it is today. And I'll need to make new ones. But don't worry about that stuff. Find what lights you up. What is, like Celia is saying, if you want to make a business of it, what's the offer, right? What is the thing that you're going to give in exchange for receiving income, right? And to act on inspiration, because you know, those are little breadcrumb signs that I know that I think of it as like this inner wisdom or higher wisdom. You know, when I hear like, okay, bring nature, art, and heart together, you know, and I'll say, what is that? You know, and if I just pay attention, then the answers will show up in something I see, something I hear, a conversation, and someone giving me an offer, whatever it is. So if we can quiet our, you know, that chatter and come back to being grounded, and then quieting the mind to listen, the answers are in you and they will come. And hand in hand with, you know, if you want to have a successful business, you know, surrounding yourself with people who are already doing that and getting the guidance, mentorship of other people, you know, and understanding that I understand today that actually this morning, I'm so grateful for someone that that is helping me with my MailChimp and website things. Because when I had to create this landing page, I was a little freaked out. It's not my zone of genius. It'll take me 10 times as long, but I have someone who lives and breathes technology. And she said, it's easy for me and I love it. So, you know, when you're able to, a little at a time, you're going to be received. Just know that when you get scared about receiving money, this is what I do, is I think about how I'm going to use that money. I'm going to use it to pay this person for branding. I'm going to use this money to pay for someone to be a virtual assistant. I'm going to have someone do my social media, right? So that I can free myself to do what I do best in my business. And that's working with my clients.
And I love that, because that is the goal for all of us, right? Is to really be able to like work in our zone of genius and do what we do best. And so this is it. This is the path. It's, you know, it's one step at a time. It's following your intuition and it's taking action, right? Like I really want to stress that it's the balance between the two. It's the tuning in and then moving, like taking a step, right? Because sometimes we can get really stuck in the tuning, like, you know, we love that. That's my favorite place, right? If I could just hang out and be like tuning in, I love that. And then it's the part that's uncomfortable, which is, okay, now I got to go out there and do something with this inspiration that I'm getting, right? So I love that, you know, we've been talking about that throughout this whole summit, is that importance of like checking in with yourself, tuning into yourself, and then taking an action, an inspired action, right? That's what we call inspired action, right? An action that's really inspired. So, so we've done, you know, we know where we can find Melinda. I'm going to be sending out the freebie. Now, Melinda and I had talked about it. For those of you that are, you know, open to it and would like to stay on, Melinda's going to guide us through a very short, grounding, beautiful tree meditation. So if you want to stay for that, I welcome you to stay with us. And if you have to go, that's okay too. It was lovely to have you here. Oh, I want to just mention one more thing. On Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, so that's like 8 a.m. 8 a.m. California time, I am going to be running a sort of build your soul-led business blueprint session. It's kind of like, what does that look like on a foundation? Now, I also want to say I'm going to offer it again next Friday at 12 noon. So that's 9 a.m. Eastern. I'll make both of those dates available and I'll send all that information out. But I had originally planned it for 11 a.m. and then I realized that wasn't going to work with, you know, folks out west necessarily. So I was going to reschedule it, but I've just decided to do it twice instead. So I'll do it this Friday and then I'll do it next Friday. So I will send out all that information as well. Thanks, Courtney. It's so nice to see you here. So yeah, so without wasting any more time, let's go to Melinda.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Celia, so much for this and for your generous offer on Friday. I look forward to trying to attend one of those and encourage anyone who's listening to come check it out. You know, Celia is just really amazing. So
Thank you.
All right, so this is a meditation or a breath work that came to me during one of my meditations, and it kept coming to me. So I want to share this with you, and it's really basically about, you know, remembering that we are just like trees. We're a part of nature. So I'm going to invite you to just kind of settle in your seat and wiggle if you need to get to a comfortable spot. And begin with just taking some regular, slow breaths, however feels comfortable to you. And with each out breath, imagine that below your feet into the ground are little roots that are extending. And with each out breath, you're going to push those roots out farther and farther into the earth. And these roots are radiating out and branching out, going farther. They're going to be searching for water and nutrients that are in the earth, grounding your tree into the soil so it doesn't fall over. One more out breath and push those roots out way into the ground, all around you. And as trees are standing, they're going to be taking up water from those roots. So imagine in your next in-breath that you're bringing that water, drawing it through the roots up your trunk of your body, up to your heart, to your throat, to your head, and out the top of your head into your branches, the crown of your tree. And that water is going into the branches and feeding every leaf that's popping open. And with each inhale, you receive the water going up the trunk and exhaling out of the leaves as they grow more and more branches and leaves. Inhaling from the roots up the trunk and exhaling out the leaves. And as you continue this breath, we know that trees are exchanging gases, so they are releasing carbon dioxide into the air. So when you breathe out as your tree, exhale gases out into the atmosphere all around you. And the trees also take in carbon dioxide, excuse me. So on your next in-breath, you're going to breathe in from the atmosphere all around your head. And bring that breath into your crown, into your throat, and down to your heart, and down the trunk of your tree and into the roots as sugars. The tree is doing photosynthesis, breathing in oxygen, using water, making sugar, and the sugar is being stored in the roots. So as you're breathing in and out, you're bringing the gases from the atmosphere down into your branches, down into your heart, down to your legs and into the roots and into the soil, growing those roots even farther. And then the next breath from the roots up your trunk to the heart, to the throat, and up the top of your head and out into the branches. And we're just going to breathe in this cycle, up from above and into the branches and down, exhaling into the earth. And when we do this, we understand that we are connected to the plant life. We are in an interdependent relationship with trees. When we exhale, the trees inhale. When the trees exhale, we inhale. We need each other. So perhaps the next inhale can be from above and receiving with gratitude life's oxygen from the plant world, bringing it into your throat and your heart, and then down your legs and breathing that into the earth as a thank you to the earth, to the plant life. We are part of this web of connection. And breathing in from the roots, receiving with gratitude up the trunk of your body, and exhaling a thank you to the plant life. So as you move through your day, at any time you feel stuck in your head, worrying about figuring something out or rushing, just remember the breath. Thank you to the trees, and exhaling gratitude. All it takes is a few breaths to bring us back to remember that we are part of the same fabric of life. And we can come back to this groundedness anytime. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and come back to the room.
Thank you.
Mm.
Oh, thank you. Thank you to everybody for showing up today. Thank you, Melinda, for this beautiful meditation, for your interview today. This was absolutely wonderful. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you.
Yeah. And may you all grow your roots deep and
Mm.
strong like the trees around us, and flourish your branches and leaves and flowers and fruit out into the community that needs your genius. Yeah. Thank you
I
for
love
being
that.
here.
Thank you. Have a
Mhm.
wonderful, blessed
Thank you,
day. Bye,
Celia.
everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Melinda.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, Robin. Thanks.